Hey, welcome back to our podcast, your go-to source for all things real estate and lifestyle in the heart of Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Jackson Christian Berry.
And I'm Jean Kristen Berry.
And together, we're here to guide you through the vibrant world of Fort Worth and surrounding suburb living.
We believe in creating a community where everyone feels at home. And that's why we're committed to bringing you honest, expert advice in a fun and friendly way. From the bustling streets of downtown to the serene suburbs, we've got the scoop on what makes each area unique.
Each week, we'll dive into the latest market trends, offer tips for both buyers and sellers, and share insider knowledge to help you make informed decisions. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about some of the Fort Worth charming neighborhoods, you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode.
Welcome back to Welcome Home Fort Worth. Today, we have a wonderful guest with us. It's Kip Boydston from LaTour Tree Service. And he's going to talk to us today about just everything you need to know about trees, how they add value to your property, how you take care of them with maintenance. So he's our tree expert. And so Kip, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about you.
I've been married for 29 years and got three kids that are in college, and my oldest daughter just got engaged, and I've got another one looking like she may get engaged sometime.
Nice.
And so getting close to empty nesting.
Yeah, wow.
You know,
That's
enjoying it. Yeah,
Where college with kiddos?
One at SFA. My son's a freshman at SFA,
Uh-huh.
a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And then my daughter just graduated from SAGU in Waxahachie.
yeah, cool.
She's the one that got engaged.
Yeah.
My other daughter is a pole vaulter at Harding University.
Oh my
in
gosh.
Arkansas.
Wow.
That's amazing.
You're on the road all the time with them.
I'm in Harding this week, in
Yeah.
fact. So
Wow.
I'm at the Dochos next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's never ending.
Yeah, for real.
How fun.
Yeah,
That's
good
so
time. Fun time of life for sure.
It is. So what got you into trees?
Oh, yeah.
I was actually in a completely different industry for 20 years. Sold high-end custom clothing, and I was self-employed and ready for a change. And a guy I go to church with recruited me in December one year and said, "Hey, your business is slow now after Christmas." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Hey, come and drag some brush for me, and we need somebody to help." And said he's looking to hire an arborist, and I kind of blinked at him, and I did landscaping, but I was like, what kind of training? And so long story short, 7 years ago, I joined up with them and got my arborist certification. And so I had two completely different careers.
Yeah.
Is that hard to get?
Yeah, what does that look like?
It's a legitimate test. There's 15 different sections you got to go through and pass.
Jeez.
The scientific side they go down the micro cell biology, and I was like, this is high school science.
Oh my gosh,
things that I am
Wow.
struggling with.
Sure.
Some other tree climbing is another portion of it, which I've never climbed trees before, and that kind of thing. So it's a little bit different, but it was it's not impossible. You have to study up for it.
Yeah.
It took
Yeah.
a while. You got to have some credentials behind you and have some education. It's not, you don't just fly in there and pass it. Most people don't pass the first time.
That's interesting.
So, yeah.
Tree climbing.
Tree climbing.
That's part of it.
That's part of it.
Interesting.
The climbers up there and those oak
Yeah,
trees
it's
and things,
dangerous
and
work.
rigging work and bringing it down safely and not destroying
Yeah.
property.
Wow.
And so it's not just knocking trees down. There's an art to it for sure.
Well, you guys came to our property that we have and took out a bunch of trees. I mean, those trees were, 20, 30?
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, there's live oak in particular. A couple of those
were-
large limbs over your house or the
They
front
were
of the house.
so
And
big. I mean, they were so big.
Right.
And y'all had people up there just climbing away.
You don't want me up there.
Yeah.
My running joke is if you see me grab a chainsaw, grab your cell phone, have 911, your thumb on green.
Ready to go. That's awesome.
One of us is getting hurt, so
Yeah.
they let me focus on the health side and the bids. So I don't
Right.
have to cut anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm dangerous.
Yeah, no, they're amazing.
I don't know how it couldn't be dangerous. I mean, I know that y'all have all
Yeah.
the regulations that
Yeah.
you need, like
And the
and
tree
the
club.
caution and stuff. But like, yeah, it's amazing to watch.
I tell everybody it's part science and part art.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
times I've seen us drop material before, and I was like, how in the world did they get it down? They're going to hit that car. I was like, and they didn't hit the car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's physics. So yeah, it's impressive.
Wow.
So
It's physics. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Like playing pool. You have to have good angles.
You have to.
That
yeah.
is, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I've seen them go through and take a wedge and then get it cut just right. And Jesus, one of our guys, been in this for probably 12 years, and he's got a huge tree at Carter Riverside High School. They're doing a big baseball field.
Yeah.
They knew we were coming out there, and they decided to put their outfield fence in the day before we came with their fence posts. And I was like, this tree's been scheduled for 18 months.
Yeah.
And
Man.
so we had fence posts, and he looked at it and made one more cut, looked at it again. And I was like, well, here goes nothing. He dropped it down between two fence posts and didn't touch anything.
Where?
I was like, all right, Jesus, that's impressive. You're skilled.
He's a dude.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was only a $6 part in a little post would have been nothing replaced, but
Sure.
he didn't touch it. So yeah,
But to
we're
have
good.
that kind of aim and be able to
And be able to see it.
do that.
You've got factoring in
Well,
wind and
see it, but
lean.
do it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
golly.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to watch. They're good. We tell people it's fun to watch us work for sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
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 Yeah. If anybody has a tree that's like close to a house or, there's any risk of that, I mean,
Right.
you want somebody who knows what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of fly-by-night companies, the small guys out there that just, they can get themselves in a hurry and mess up some things quickly. Yeah. It's nice to have that professionalism behind you.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
So with that in mind, what do you suggest for like, if somebody's going to shop a tree service, do they need to look for bonding, insurance? What do they need to ask about?
I mean, with anything, there's always a risk for anything you do. And so if you've got a simple removal in a front yard and you're worried about bottom dollar, provided it doesn't fall on somebody, and there's not much risk there.
Yeah. Got it.
But having said that, there are complicated situations
Yeah.
where the tree can be hanging over the roof, or with cars nearby, or benches and things you want to avoid, or grandma's chair. Those are a favorite chair that you inherited,
Yeah.
and move it out of the way. But so obviously, bonding and insurance is big. Reputable companies will go through. They'll be happy to supply a certificate of insurance if needed.
Cool.
Okay.
And so letting
That's
people
not
know that,
unusual.
hey,
You can just ask for that.
yeah, we just ask for insurance. They get it to them, and they know. And so we've got plenty of liability coverage for that. Larger companies will have guys that are true W-2 employees able to go through, and they've got workman's comp, which is not real common. And so you can ask as a homeowner, if you want to be protected, you can ask some of those questions. Hey, tell me about the size of the company and what all you offer, that kind of thing.
Cool.
So,
Good.
So
That's good.
so we've got all of our guys are W-2, they're employees, and so we're able to stay working year round. And with me doing most of the sales, it's my job to keep them employed.
That's right. That's right.
Keep them going. And
Yeah.
so, but just be smart. Just if you're asking for reputable, if it's an easy removal, 2 guys can do it pretty easily.
Sure.
And that couldn't be dangerous. Just do your research and make
Yeah.
sure
Wow.
they're trusted. Referrals, talk to other people.
Yeah, sure.
Make friends and family and neighbors, and everybody has bad stories. And so, and if the company does make a mistake, what do they do to rectify it?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
We're a good reputable company. We do make mistakes. When we do, we always own up to it and take care of it and move on.
Yeah. That's cool.
So that's an important thing to well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
See all those 5-star reviews. Like, do you have any 3-star? Somebody's bound to be unhappy at some point.
Yeah.
You're bound to have broken a chair or something, and
Yeah.
Sure. They had
just
to make up for it.
Exactly. Make
Yeah.
sure they're honest with you. So
It's cool.
That's good. I like that. So we've got a lot of buyers and sellers that kind of listen to us and they're looking for advice. What would you say would be good advice for a buyer about trees if they're looking at a house? What should they be paying attention to?
I mean, the first thing I tell people is just kind of curb appeal. As soon as you get out, just look.
Yeah.
Does it look like it's been maintained? Does the grass look like it's in good shape? Or has it been edged? Which by the time they get to you, hopefully you've had that discussion before it goes to showing.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, looking up there for large dead wood, do you have anything that looks like there's dead limbs that could fall on above driveways, things that are on roofs? And then also check the quality as far as the house, which you all know about. Make sure the shingles aren't worn through. You can tell, hey, that tree was just trimmed, but it hasn't been trimmed in a long time because they did it just because they're showing.
Yeah, of course.
So just look for that, and then obviously trees will definitely bring in value. I tell everybody
Oh my gosh. Yes.
the front yard you can take down a 16 or 8 inch, 18-inch tree, and you can drop $20,000 or $30,000
Yes.
asking price
Yes.
just because it doesn't have that same appeal.
Well, that's the. I mean, like new construction, people love those new construction.
Yeah.
What's the biggest complaint? The trees. Like people go to older built communities because of the trees. They
want
love
the
the
trees.
established feel where it's hanging over the street. I mean, absolutely.
Right. Well, and just the flip side is when you build that new house, those first 2 or 3 years are great because it's so efficient. You don't worry about anything. And
Yeah,
then
of
that
course.
4, 5, 6 year mark, those windows are a little bit of aging.
Right.
It's not quite as comfortable.
Yeah,
You don't have
exactly.
shade. There's
Yes.
no shade
Because
anywhere.
you got a long time until it
So,
comes to.
so larger trees are obviously a big selling point. But looking for those structural integrity of trees, making sure there's no problematic limbs or splits or things that a lot of people won't notice. So it might not be a bad idea to bring an arborist in or somebody come in and just do an inspection before. And,
We have a client right now who is is considering doing just a landscaping work in the front yard because they have trees that are just over that have no light coming through.
Right.
Is that just it's just going to have to be that way in those situations, or are there things that y'all can do on your end? Obviously, you can pick better grass types that work better in shade, of course. But on your end of the thing, is there ways you'd recommend people trimming them up? How does that work?
Yeah, we get the discussion all the time, and especially just with where the weather has been. The last several years, it was like I talk to people all the time. If you want to see God's sovereignty, just look outside and see anything alive. We had the freeze in February 21, the drought in 22, the drought last year, awesome. And it's just. People are looking at grass, like my grass isn't filling in, and they need I was like, well, we can remove all the trees. The grass still is not coming back. You need to resod. But to answer your question specifically about trees, it comes down to you need to have some windows of daylight coming down. And so simply just thinning out the canopy, you're not always going to get good coverage with that. And then we've had the summers, we've had compaction's a big deal and water's running off. So just soil, soil amendments and things.
Sure.
So yes, there are certainly some things, but sometimes if it's a heavily wooded lot, you may need to remove a few trees. If you really do want to have grass. I tell everybody, you go into a forest, find the grass. It doesn't exist. You've got to go through and clean some things up and get it elevated and raised up, but also you may need to bring some sod and some prep work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you bring somebody in, like especially if you have we have these huge live oaks, so you bring somebody in to work on a tree that's precious. Is that somebody that you're going to want to have an arborist, or what do you look for there?
In theory, there are people who've been doing it for a long time. The certified arborists are obviously knowledgeable and trained in ways that tree cutters may not be. But like anything, you can also find those good old boys that have been a farmer forever, and they are brilliant minds, and they can't tell you why they know anything. They just got years of experience. So you have those guys that are very qualified cutters. That don't know why they know it, but they know it. Other times you get those guys that don't know anything at all, and when you drive by and you see that tree and you're like, what happened to that? That is ridiculous. That's absurd.
Yeah, I've seen that.
At that point, it's like, well, in 5 years you'll be okay. It'll grow back. It's like a bad haircut. It takes some time. So let it go. But with that, there's times you definitely want to go through and do some inspections first and get some insight. And we tell everybody be smart, get some competitive bids.
Right.
But then also comparing companies as well. If you have one that has 6 certified arborists on staff, they're showing up with pulling literally $40,000 to $50,000 worth of equipment, and a grapple truck that comes along that's $250,000. Their bid will be different than somebody with a flatbed trailer that they're showing and putting their ladder on top.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
a little bit different there as well. So just make sure you're comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
That's really cool.
So as a seller and needing to do regular tree maintenance so that they don't come up on a time where their trees are dying, what do you suggest for a seller? What should a homeowner do?
Yeah, tree maintenance especially. That's great.
I
don't think anybody's talking about that.
Yeah. It's a big player for sure, especially in the younger houses. Sorry, my voice. I got allergies right now, so my voice is going in and out.
So a tree guy,
there's the tree guy, tree allergies. It's fun. But with that, when you have smaller properties or smaller trees, it's just sometimes you need some structural pruning to get them trained properly, because you can see those limbs you look at. You can see a limb that's way out of long and looks odd. That thing could have been cut back when it was a young tree. It could be completely different. So sometimes when it's younger, to take advantage and get it trained up. In the Bible it says, train a child when they're young, they're old to depart. Train a tree when it's young, when it's old, it won't depart from that function. So get it trimmed up. But for larger trees, you're going to make sure that it's got good structure for it and go through there, and just regular maintenance. As trees get older, they don't need to be trimmed as often. Many times when a tree has been trimmed regularly, it gets into a growth cycle and it kind of realizes and understands. When I grow out here, I get pulled back and they'll grow towards the light. And so regular maintenance, and larger trees, the live oak in your front yard is probably 40 or 50 years old.
Right.
Every 4 or 5 years is probably enough. Other just got getting some sprouts and things. So for homeowners, just like anything, just regular maintenance is important. Most reputable companies will be happy to come by and do a free analysis and kind of get out there and inspect things. Say, hey, you know what? If they're reputable, say you're really in pretty good shape. Cool. We could trim for aesthetics right now, but the tree doesn't really need it. If you want to have that sculpted look, we can do that. But it's not always necessary or needed at all.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Yeah. And do you plant trees?
Yes.
You do that
Yeah,
too?
we're full service. We plant them, remove them. We can treat them, insect disease, pest control, all those things. So any tree that's stressed, or which right now with the weather, again, go back to beat that dead horse again. Everything is stressed.
Yeah, sure.
I tell customers regularly that if I'm grading a tree on the school grading system of A through F, their A trees just aren't out there. No matter how much you love it and whisper to it and brush it.
Yeah, right.
It's just it's stressed. The weather's been
Yeah.
tough. So sometimes it's just managing expectations as well.
Yeah.
Letting customers know, hey, we're just trying to manage this and give this tree the best life it can have for its life expectancy. And sometimes it's kind of getting unstable. It's time to remove it and make it, plant a tree in its place or things. So yes, we plant as well.
Yeah.
I've heard of tree replanting as well, where you remove it and then you transport it and replant it somewhere else. Is that still a thing?
There are companies out there, running joke, if you have enough money, you can do anything.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Heard about
I'm sure it has to be so expensive.
Yeah. I heard about a gentleman up in Maine recently that spent $2 million to move a tree from his front property across the county line. They had to take down power lines, and the middle of the night, street lights went through there and put it up there and set it down and replanted this tree. And it was probably a 30-inch live oak and just a massive root ball. And it's so yes, it can be done. We don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
We want no part of that. But transplanting smaller trees,
Yeah.
generally a couple of years, it gets to be really tough if anything's more than a couple of years old.
Wow.
Or Japanese maples, some little small red
Yeah.
buds, small ornamentals you can
You
do.
can do
But
those. Okay.
once you get a deciduous shade tree that's 2 or 3 inches, that root ball to get is going to be larger than this table.
Wow.
At some point, it's just several hundred pounds
Yeah,
to try
sure.
to go through and keep it together without
be
breaking
crazy.
it. It's hard to do.
And that
Yeah.
injury going to be so.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you wind up putting stress on the trunk, and it can
Yeah.
snap or bruise.
Yeah.
And then years later, you see the damage done that you don't see for a while.
That's so interesting.
So, yeah.
That is so interesting. Wow.
Hey everyone, real quick before we get back to the show, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, we'd love to connect with you. We post a lot of content like this in case you miss an episode, along with more Fort Worth and surrounding suburb local insights and finds. You can find our team at the Christenberry Group on all social platforms, or you can connect with Jackson and I personally on our Facebook and our Instagram accounts. Just be prepared for lots of pictures of my grandson on either account. Now back to the show. Well, since you guys plant trees for people, are y'all able to consult with them about, how do you decide how close to a house you're going to plant certain trees and all
Right.
that? I mean, because we see a lot with foundation
Oh, yeah.
issues here,
Right.
and with it having been such a drought that
Right.
it seems like maybe some of the trees are really, struggling and looking for water even more.
Right.
So, yeah.
One of the big things with that, a lot of these new houses are going through and putting irrigation systems
Sure.
in around
Yeah.
the foundation.
Yeah, yeah.
And as a general rule, most trees will not do a lot of damage to foundation. Septic systems, they definitely can.
Okay.
Plumbing, plumbing lines running out to the street, anything that has a crack in it, it can.
Okay.
So by and large, it's going to be things on top, which will be your sewage and sewage and drainage.
Okay.
But around the house, there's really not a whole lot. Having said that, sidewalks, driveways, things that don't have as much rebar, they're not poured as deeply,
Yeah.
those can definitely shift.
Okay.
Everybody walks through downtown and you see a sidewalk that's
Yeah, of
2
course.
inches.
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
that's a tripping hazard, and there's things that can be done. So obviously, make to your point, the right tree in the right place is key. People
Mm-hmm.
go through, and I always use the example of Bob Ross, the painter, the
Sure.
happy little
Yeah,
trees.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of these landscape architects or even home builders will go through there and put these happy little trees in, not thinking that, well, in 10 years will be beautiful, and 15 years are crowded, in 20 years, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
My grass is gone.
Yeah.
I can't get sun anywhere, and you got to go through and move trees. And so, I talk about trees are like kids and puppies. They grow up and take over. And so
That's
crazy.
plant and allow for the future.
Wow.
A good arborist, a good tree company will get some
tell you
recommendations.
some of
That,
that.
hey, you don't need to have 3 trees in your front yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get you a tree and a yopon or a crepe myrtle or something, an ornamental to get some color and some pop without putting 3 live oaks in a small 8,000 square foot front yard. You just don't have room for it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to be crazy all over the place. There'll be no grass.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's a big part of the curb appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to go through and have both, and it's trying to balance both of those.
Right.
Have the shade and have the beauty, have that aesthetic appeal, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you want to be able to walk outside barefooted and not have
Yeah, of course. You're right.
stickers
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Enjoy your front
everything
yard.
else. Yeah. It's-
You own it.
nothing is cheap. Trees and
exactly.
grass are not cheap.
Right.
Let's take care of both. It can be done. You have to know what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would assume it has to be so interesting taking a custom clothing eye into this world,
Right.
and like you just talked about, like bringing some color into the curb appeal and everything. What's like one of your favorite things to do with homes when it comes to whether adding color or trimming trees? What is the favorite thing?
I mean, it really depends on what the customer's wanting.
Okay.
One of my big things, I go back, you're talking about color.
Yeah.
I'm frequently some of these older homes with big mature trees.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy to say, but houses that are 20 or 30 years old, they were built in the 90s.
Sure. Sure.
It doesn't sound like very long ago,
Yeah.
except in the 90s, everybody put crepe myrtles around swimming
Yes,
pools.
totally.
And so the beautiful pinks and purples and lavenders and gorgeous, but the pools are just destroyed.
They're a mess.
So the first thing we do is get rid of the crepe myrtles and put
Interesting.
those at the back of the property and go to a red bud or
Interesting.
some Mexican plums. That's a lot cleaner and things. And
Cool.
so just trying to go through and little small updates
Yeah.
will do wonders.
That's so cool.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different species and things we can do, and then there's so many more grasses and things are. You get the drought, just putting native plants in is huge.
Yeah.
Palm trees are not. I've got a lot of landscapers aren't putting palm trees at
Yeah.
all because it just gets too cold here.
Sure.
The last 2 or 3 years, I've got customers that spent thousands of dollars in replenishing, and the next year they're dead.
Oh my gosh.
They did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
They just can't handle.
Yeah.
It's just this area.
This year we had a mild winter. We still had 4 days in the low teens in January.
Yeah.
Would have
That's
froze.
enough to shock everything. So
Absolutely.
trying to be kind of be smart
Wow.
with what you plant.
Wow.
So
So you can recommend trees that don't make messes
Right.
around pools and things like that. What's your favorite trees?
Yes. And that's
there's so many answers to that question.
Yeah.
It's kind of dangerous. If I tell customers are looking for a tree for their front yard, hey, I was going to replace something and I had a big tree that was removed. What do I put?
Yeah.
Depending on the size, the Chinese pistache is one of my go-tos.
Okay.
They have beautiful fall color. Those bright orange leaves. They are fairly drought resistant. They grow relatively quickly. They got a nice globe shape, a nice umbrella canopy.
Yeah.
And they don't really have a lot of insect or pest issues or disease issues. And so if you plant them properly and give them some time, they're spectacular.
Cool.
And so that's a good one. That obviously oaks and elms, I think, that are native.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I tell everybody loves pecans until you own one. Constantly dropping limbs of
They are.
pecans, and then live oaks, like you know, in your front
Messy,
yard,
messy, messy.
you always have leaves in the ground. It's just never ending.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
There are certain ones.
It's a
you go.
trade-off. Green
It is.
leaves versus leaves everywhere.
You have shade year round. It looks beautiful year round, but
Yeah.
it's always dropping leaves.
It's a mess.
Right.
What's your least favorite?
Oh.
Right now, magnolia trees are just the bane of my existence. I'm getting calls all the time, and it's like they're just struggling right now. And so we're trying again set expectations. Let people remember that freeze from 3 years ago they've forgotten about.
Yeah,
the
that's
trees
true.
haven't.
Wow.
The drought from last year, we've had so much rain this spring. We had 3.5 to 4 inches on Sunday morning. We've had several multi-inch rains recently.
Yeah.
Everybody in the counties, in the rural counties, can burn all they want to, but we're still just fighting through these. And these trees take a while to recover.
Yeah.
And magnolias are one that are just really, really struggling, defoliating, thin canopies, lots of bloom that just look very, very odd. And so we're just letting
Interesting.
customers know there's some treatments we can do to kind of slow that growth down, increase the fine root hair growth. But it's challenging to set the expectations.
Sure.
I've heard of some apps people can like hold up to a tree and it can show you the health or suggest.
Tree ID, right.
Do you recommend that? What do you think about those?
The recommendation can be tough.
Okay.
If you know somebody that's in your normal market, there's some general things. Tree ID is a little bit easier for that, but at the same time, it's kind of funny. Some of those things you look at because there's so many things out there. That's one of my professors I've done some continued education with. He says that trees are very funny. They're promiscuous. They're constantly cross-pollinating. If you think back to just science, little grid of going through and plotting things.
Yeah.
To find there's probably 15 or 20 different species of red oak tree.
Wow.
On a shoe mark, we're like, well, where was the daddy? Where did the acorn come from?
Yeah.
Can you trace that back?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so we give people all the time. Or you should. I was like, it's a post oak, but it's a funky looking post oak. And so it's just changed and evolved, and things get cross pollinating and things. So,
Wow.
So tree ID is kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's definitely an oak tree.
Yeah.
It's definitely an elm tree. What more than that? There's different species.
Interesting.
Yeah, cedar elms and wingback.
Kind of like
elms.
dogs, right?
I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
Trees can be mutts for sure.
Yeah.
Now they're designer dogs.
Yes.
I got a designer tree, so well, there you go. So all it was, I hope you get it cheap because it's a mutt.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
But the mutts are livable.
It'll perform
totally.
really well, right?
It provides shade.
They
What
can
you
perform
want.
really,
That's
really
right.
well. I think it really could.
I tell everybody if they have some trees take abuse. A hackberry tree, everybody hates. I was like, if that's all you have in your front yard, you take care of that tree. That's an expensive, valuable tree. It's just, quote, a hackberry. But so people go through there. It's like, well, this old nut. I said, old nut you've loved for 15 years.
Yeah.
He's given you his heart and soul, and it's take care of it. And it's the same thing. So you can make anything valuable.
Cool.
Oh, that's good advice.
So
Yeah, that's really
I
cool.
like that. I like that a lot. Any other success stories you want to share with us about times where your services it just turned out really great?
Oh, there's a lot of things we've been able to do over the years. One of the best techniques we do is, as you know, in this area, the soil, which you've already mentioned, foundations. It's awful.
Yes.
It really is tough
Yes.
to work with. There's some soil remediation, some air spading techniques we can do to kind of go through and fluff the soil up. And we've taken trees that have been in the ground for 2 or 3 years and haven't grown and just look sickly and never look good.
Yeah.
And we go through and we'll air spade, get that soil loose, put some microorganic matter, some microbes in there to get the soil conditioned. And within a couple of years, we've seen trees just come back like crazy. One of my favorite ones at Camp Thurman in Pantigua. There were several small trees that I spent a better part of 2 weeks on my hands and knees, pruning, cutting roots, and air spading, and putting all this love.
Yeah.
And I was learning a lot through it. But I was like, hey, is this going to work? And I've gone back there to look, and those trees in 4 years have doubled in size. Like, wow, that's a success.
We were talking about kids, being like kids. I mean, that's walking, seeing a kid having a hard time at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Intervening, helping them out, being there for them, mentoring. Yeah, mentoring, and then just seeing that.
Right.
So that's so cool.
It takes some time. It's like it's not immediate.
Yeah.
And there were some I took and I cut some. I was like, this tree going to make it? Which with kids, sometimes you press so hard, they're going to come back.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, they wake up one day. I was like, man, my life is better. Look what they did. I'm glad they stood up for me and look where I am now. And
Absolutely.
trees, that
Wow.
same thing. So there's some really cool things to see when you see that, So we've seen trees that are chlorotic and we'll go through and kind of take care of, which is an iron efficiency basically.
Yeah.
See trees that are kind of pale yellow in the summertime and it comes on typically when it's hot. And really go through and inject it with the proper nutrients and it comes back to green. And that's kind of a cool one to see.
How do you inject trees? What would
I
that
told them make them drink their medicine. We actually drill into the vascular system, and then if you remember transpiration,
Yeah.
if water takes up, releases oxygen, and so that whole process we go through and drill in around the tree.
Yeah.
What's called a closed loop system, and put T-post in there, and then turn the valve on, and the tree basically drinks it up, and you got a 2-liter bottle or a 1-liter bottle of drugs, of chemicals for it, and it takes it up there, and then you unplug it, and there's no residue behind. A lot of companies, a lot of places in the nation are able to spray. It's so windy here.
Yeah.
We don't like to. It's dangerous. People always question, what are you doing? And
Gotcha.
we sprayed neem oil before, which is actually used for cuticles and hair and things. And we were downtown Fort Worth spraying a couple of years ago, and our technician came back, he had a beard like yours.
Yeah.
And he came back, he's like, my beard has never been so soft.
Wow.
And people downtown are screaming, what are you killing? I was like, this is neem oil.
It's conditioner.
Okay. And it smells like oranges. And he came back, like, my hands feel so soft. And I was like, it really works.
There you go.
So exactly, there's some of those things that you can do that aren't but it is hard to spray things.
Yeah,
And so
totally.
anything we can do subsurface, we do a lot of soil injections, things below the ground. It's better for kids, better for pets. You don't have to worry about any type of residue left behind.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense.
you want to be careful. You got to be smart with what we do, especially got to take water runoff and things as well.
Yeah.
So anything we can do directly into the tree itself, it's a lot better.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Especially in neighborhoods. You've got houses and neighbors that are watching it all
Oh, they're
the
always
things.
wondering, killing the bees. Like,
Yes.
we're not killing the bees.
Yeah,
the
killing
bees love
bees,
us. So
yeah.
yeah.
You can't be doing
take care of
that.
those.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, you've been doing this for quite a while. So what in the big scheme of things, when you take care of trees, do you have like some ideas about environmentally? What are we doing for the planet, for the environment? What's your thoughts on all that?
There's definitely some benefit to it for sure. I mean, obviously, we tell everybody, my wife and I lead Young Life down in Johnson
Oh, cool.
County.
Nice.
And all those kids call it mentoring. So we have a lot of kids that call my wife Mama T. So,
That's the best.
I'm just Kip. I don't but all the kids find out what I do. No, not Danny K. I've tried for that one. I've tried all kinds of things.
Sure.
Nothing is stuck.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
Kip. So
Yep.
that's fine. We told her, they find out, they're like, you're the Lorax. And
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, well,
Oh,
not really. That's
yeah.
a big command and, great movie and great
Sure.
book, but no, it's not me. But it is one of those things you do want to take care of, And so I tell everybody, regardless whether you're where you fall in the political
Sure.
spectrum
Yeah,
of things,
sure.
I was like, I don't get into politics with anybody.
Sure.
But regardless, trees are clearly important.
Yeah.
And to go through and to value things and take care of them because it is good for us. It's amazing. Temperatures have been, they've done temperature studies, and from a retail economic background, those neighborhoods that have strip malls with a beautiful tree structure out there, they're more apt to have the people come through there. In restaurants with patios that have got trees around.
Sure. Yeah.
Those things. And,
Yeah.
this area, they have misters out there and
Yes.
things. I was like, the shade, it's just, there's things you can do to entice people to go outside to enjoy it. And so, there's a huge economic and environmental impact.
Sure.
For keeping
Oh,
people
yeah.
healthy,
Yeah.
And just and then flip side is just the emotional aspect. People go through, and it's one of those things you walk outside, you see some pretty trees,
Yeah.
and you truly just relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking your shoes off, getting back and touching the grass.
Well, you breathe
and that's
differently.
what I do. Absolutely.
You breathe way differently than you would in the city. Yeah,
So you
absolutely.
go to the mountains, and all of a sudden
Yes.
you're like,
Yeah,
that
this
pine,
feels
and I can-
different.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
You go to Vegas, they pump the oxygen in.
Exactly right.
Yeah, nature, you don't need that. Nobody's pumping oxygen.
Right.
And you might not spend as much money.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly true. Yeah.
That too. Well, anything else you'd like to leave? Any special services? Anything you guys do that you want to make sure people know about?
Yeah, I mean, we're full service tree company. Anything you need from trimming and removing to anything that's sick. There's a lot of disease trees, a lot of mistletoe, a lot of things out there you can go through and diagnose. And so, bottom line, if people look up there and have questions about things, you talk to neighbors, maybe they might know, but hopefully somebody knows it's a reputable company. There's a lot of good competition out there, a lot of competition that's not so good.
Yeah.
A lot of great real estate.
Yeah.
We have good brokers out there, so they aren't so good.
Yes.
They're going to try to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And our whole thing, we will be as honest as we can.
Yeah.
There's many times, late fall, early spring, my voice is going.
You're good.
Late fall, early spring, I tell people it's hard to be an arborist right now because the leaves are getting ready to drop and it's a
Right.
foliar
Yeah.
issue. I don't want to treat that because it's going to be gone in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then other times in the spring, let's wait 2 more weeks. Let's wait 3 weeks. Let it leaf out with a better idea we can go through.
Yeah.
And so people that are going to be there, just be honest and reputable. And
Yeah,
give
sure.
good advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
And our experiences have been you guys have always had great integrity.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we can't do anything, and there's times we'll battle a tree, and sometimes it's just we have good success with trees got borers. We've got a proven system.
Cool.
We can battle that, and it comes back. But then a drought comes in, and back-to-back years, like we couldn't foresee that.
Yeah.
We couldn't battle that. We're so sorry.
Yeah.
We did everything we can, and so there's some things that you just can't battle.
Sure.
If you be so, just let customers know.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, that tree we tried. We did everything else, or we can try one more time. There's no promises with this.
Yeah.
We don't know what the future holds.
Yeah.
So just as honest and reputable is huge.
Yeah, still can't control Mother Nature.
No, we can't. Be nice and good. Yeah, be nice and
Yeah,
good.
right.
He doesn't like that, does he? Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was thrilled to be here.
I've learned a lot today. There's a lot of things I didn't know.
I don't think about trees the way we talk about. This is cool.
Yeah.
Most people don't.
This has been really cool.
Good.
I will look at trees differently on my drive home today.
Yeah,
Well, I
absolutely.
expect a call. And you said, that's a dead limb.
Did you see that?
That just come down. So that's dangerous. That's going to kill my butt dog.
That's right, exactly.
So yeah, no, we can. We'll be happy to help out anybody.
Cool.
Anybody has questions, they can call and reach us. And
Yeah.
we're happy to help out.
Thanks, sir.
Very good.
Good. You want to tell your number or anything?
Yeah, anything.
You can reach us LaTourTree.com, or our office number is 817-228-1012.
Cool.
So,
Cool. Thanks
Thanks so much. I appreciate
Appreciate y'all.
So thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for watching the podcast today. If this has been valuable for you at all, we sure could use your help getting the word out to more people. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow and consider taking just maybe 2 minutes to leave us a review. Both do wonders for our show with the algorithm, and on both platforms, all you gotta do, head over to our show page. On Spotify, hit 3 dots and select rate. And on Apple, all you gotta do is just scroll down to the show and say leave a review. So just click that. If you're seeing this on Facebook or Instagram, a like or comment puts all the good vibes out in the algorithm for us. And on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we post a new episode. Join us again next week for more Fort Worth housing news and updates. Until then, y'all have a great week.